All right,
I agree,
I'll
we're in
bring the
order.
meeting to order, and,
We'll see.
yeah, we just, can we, yeah, you guys all read the minutes?
Yep. Yep.
You guys are all good with the minutes?
Yep.
Cool.
Do I make a motion?
Anybody
to
have any
approve?
changes or errors they see in here?
No, I thought that looked.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Okay.
I'll second.
Grab that chair.
So, what did you say?
All in favor?
All in favor
Yeah.
of approving?
Cool.
All right.
Alright, one done.
And then the next thing was election of SAB chair. How many people need to make a vote too?
That's cool.
To have a quorum, we got
So there's-
plenty tonight.
Is this,
Yeah.
is this everybody now?
Majority.
I think this is everybody now.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So it'll be 4 out of 7.
I'd like to move that Dave be selected as chairman of the board.
Great, second.
Sure.
I mean, should we discuss this? Technically, I mean, I have the seniority on the board here, I've had no interest in being chairman.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
if
I'm next,
if
and
you
I-
wanted to do
No,
it,
I don't want to do it.
That's got nothing to do with
You
it.
can't handle it, but I think it should be discussed. I mean, if Becca wants to do it, or if Jake wants to do it.
No.
I want to
If you
do it, but I don't
share
have the time.
it's not that
I
hard.
have
It
two
really
little
isn't.
kids, I don't have time.
It wasn't that hard to set this up.
Dave,
We
if
could
you're,
share
if
it,
you're
like,
up
we could
for
pass
it,
them around.
and you
like-
want to do it, you got my support. I think it's a great idea.
I'll
I
do
think it's a
it,
good
I'll
idea.
do it for like 6 months.
Okay.
That's
And-
totally fair.
and-
All
So
right.
how many openings do we have? So are we all full-time members now?
Seven,
we got-
supposed to be
got a-
7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7. We got one alternate, I guess we could get, right?
We
Two.
need 2 alternates,
Oh,
So we have space for 2 alternates?
so we can put that on the next agenda.
Well, actually, that's something I believe, and I'm not sure, you know, you may want to check with Barbara Austin. I would say that we should be leaning on Barbara Austin a little bit.
Yeah.
And Barbara Renaissance and stuff like in the past.
Yep.
If you ever want to know anything, just call me. But,
Did he leave?
Yeah, it's not here
Isn't
anymore.
that? Huh. Later on.
So, alright, so I'm SAB chair.
Yeah, so
Nice job.
he made the motion.
Yeah, I seconded it.
Verify the signature.
the only other thing, Dave, that you're gonna need to do as chair is when we start getting into food fights in here. and
Yeah.
it's getting a little loud.
Yeah.
You gotta tell people to shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, it can get a little testy every once in a while, and you're just gonna need to say, all right.
Yep.
And you're supposed to stick to the stuff that's on the agenda.
That's what I
Yeah.
wanna do.
There is a town course kind of
Okay.
for public
Okay.
meetings.
Yeah.
Just go around with the rules, right?
Dave,
Yeah.
I took that course.
Yeah.
I have paperwork at home.
Cool.
So I can bring it in.
That'd be awesome.
Board meeting?
Thanks.
How to run it.
Great.
Yeah, that'd be killer.
They-
Alright, so
You
on
said
the
6
chair.
months you're gonna try.
Yeah, 6 months. And now we have Wellfleet Shellfish Department updates.
Okay.
Hey, can you guys be quiet? Just so that she can do her shellfish updates. Thanks.
Tiny bit, let us know when you start the meeting.
We started. So,
So, I don't have my July report because it's not due until next week. And basically what I can say is that we have been extremely busy doing propagation activities for the past 2 months. I hope people saw the crier that went out that talked about just all the different things that we had done between the contaminated quahog relay, planting oysters, planting clams, culch. We got 6 weeks of culching, and we already have 15 loads of sea clam shell at the dump. We're going to take a break for a month because they're pretty rank over there, and we want to make sure that we don't disturb the neighbors too much. But the sea clam company offered to give us 10 loads for basically $1,000 because it's cheaper for them to pay $1,000 to Daniels to truck it to us, and then pay $3,000 to take it to their landfill. So I'm hoping that the last 5 loads will be on that same agreement, but we did put a grant request together for spec. So I had added $1,000 for one extra load of mulch, and so far we've got 5. So I feel very good about that. We have had one case of Vibrio confirmed, but that was in August, so that'll be my August report. Spoke at length with Chris Scalacci, and there was no foul play. All the growers have been complying with exposure time, ice time, and it's just the fact is that we have Vibrio in our waters, and it is in the oysters, so from time to time, unfortunately, somebody is going to get sick. But we have control over exposure times, we have control over ice, and so that's what I keep, and the department keeps reminding people about. But we've really had no problems this summer with
Do you get
that.
to share with us what the particulars were?
I can't.
Never. Okay.
Well, the state doesn't, so I'm not going to.
So the cutoff point is what, 2 people? If 2 people have gotten sick, is that what happened?
So it is either 2 illnesses on the same day or 5 in 30 days.
Okay.
So the same harvest day.
Usually the state sends out an email. I haven't seen one
The
Yeah,
day.
they did.
Yeah, I got an email.
Yep,
today.
like a long time ago, a
Like
few days
last
ago.
Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's something for different towns.
Yep, that just came out too.
Yeah.
Let me just think. We've been selling a lot of recreational permits. That's going very well over on Indian Neck, especially on negative tides. People are just, the oysters over there are huge and great. There's complaints about clams, so we do have clams planted, and we do have what we're thinking of doing with the contaminated relay at Burton Baker, which is now closed, is opening it on the 16th of September, which is when the state will let you open it, allowing 2 weeks of harvesting. So everybody would be able to get 1 bucket a week of clams, and then closing it down so that next summer, on June 1st, when that area opens, we will have clams and oysters for everybody. So that's Johnny's plan for just making everybody happy over on Indian Neck. What else? We had our AmeriCorps member. She finished up with us a couple of weeks ago. She was a godsend. She worked every Tuesday with us, so she was key part of the propagation team. She dedicated a whole year of her life to volunteerism, so I went to the graduation. It was great. I'm really pleased to be so heavily involved with AmeriCorps. We have 2 days scheduled already in October for the new group of members that will start on September 1. And then I guess, I have my, I did my crier, so I hope people saw that. I try and keep people up to date with that. And then I can certainly go make copies of the monthly report if people are interested, but I had a very long day and I didn't get to it today. So I can, I'll send my monthly report to you, Zach, for
Yep.
the report,
Yep.
for the minutes.
For the minutes.
That it?
Unless anybody has questions.
You guys have any questions? Alright, I guess we'll move on to the overwintering discussion. Do you wanna, start?
So I have 2 documents here. If I can ask for your indulgence to read from these 2 documents, I just want to put out there the information that the department has collected. So the first set of ideas that I'm reading comes from the Shellfish Advisory Board meeting on June 13th, which was at the library. So on the whiteboard, I had put no changes at the top because that's what some people wanted, and then at the bottom I put everything off, including clam nets, because that's the other thing that I heard. And then during the meeting, we tried to come up with some sort of other ideas for the middle, and I'd like to read those off as I wrote them down on that piece of paper in June. One was a fine for found racks. Something about bonded, I wrote down bonded, I don't remember what that means. Fee to overwinter racks, enforcement of the 8-inch rack pushing down, inspection of all gear to be overwintered, accurate reporting of lost gear comparing to the agreement that was turned in, push racks all the way to the bottom, limit the number of racks you can leave out, strict deadline for removal of lost gear, and no commercial activity until all lost gear is cleaned up. So before we discuss any of these, I just wanted to put them out on the table. That's what everybody in the room came up with in that discussion. In the meanwhile, the past few weeks, we have been conducting grant inspections, and I added a section to conduct interviews both about the potential of using Indian Neck as a transfer for oysters during Vibrio season, which was also brought up at the last Shellfish Advisory meeting, and collecting ideas on overwintering. So if you wouldn't mind bearing with me while I read this. So in 2019, so that everybody understands what the department knows, 3,000 racks were left out on 44 grants, as documented by the overwintering agreements that we received. We need to be able to supply the market with oysters year-round. So are there other ways? Over the past few weeks, Wellfleet Shellfish Department has been conducting grant inspections, during which we have been collecting feedback from grant holders about overwintering options. Following is a list of the feedback we have received to date. There's about 12 of them. 1, take everything off. 2, people need to find a place to put their racks as part of their business planning. 3, whatever you leave out has to be able to be taken off in one tide, no matter what the tide height. 4, if you're going to go away and nobody will be there to take care of your gear if any ice should come in, then you can't leave anything out. Put the racks flush with the bottom so the ice can't get underneath them. And then a couple others. Down to within an inch of the bottom or 4 to 6 inches from the bottom. So there was a lot of feedback on making them lower than 8 inches. Leave oysters out in bags pinned to the ground or bottom crop them, but no racks or cages. Maybe use trays, but I didn't know if trays and cages were similar, so I just want to put it there. Wellfleet Shellfish Department should conduct a second winter grant inspection for all those who submit overwintering agreements. Wellfleet Shellfish Department should conduct another grant inspection right after the ice to determine how much gear was lost. No one should be allowed to leave gear out unless there is enforcement and citations and triple damages to others. People who want to leave gear out should have to deposit money into a recovery fund to be used if we're unable to find the gear, if they're unable to find their gear. And find a place on the west side to overwinter oysters, like a public common place. So this is what I have collected so far. We've probably done 25 or 30 grant inspections. So, that's not everybody. There's 134 people named to grants in Wellfleet, so it's not even a quarter of the people. But I felt that since we had been able to collect some information, I should share it with everybody to help inform the discussion.
Cool. So, you guys want to
So I've got a question. The rules on the gear that's current now, 7.19.3 and 719.5, marking of gear and overwintering of equipment on grants. In your opinion, that current regulation enforceable?
I guess this winter I would say, when you're working with somebody and they feel like they're doing everything they can, I try and work with people. So we need to establish, moving forward, what is going to be the bottom line. Because I try and work with people. And when I get positive feedback, or when I get compliance, or when I get actions following up on my observations, I feel like I'm collaborating and that progress is being made. So if we decide that it's got to be just no discretion, it's just what's written here and there's no discretion, then we need to decide that and everybody needs to be advised of that. But just like with any other with any other type of infraction, I guess your first thing is to try and work with the person to get better.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Ask your question again then? No, I'm just explaining how I work.
I'm just.
Is the current reg
Is the
enforceable?
Current reg enforceable.
I think,
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Read the reg.
Yeah, well, 719.3 is marking of gear first. Every license shall clearly and permanently mark any and all trays, boxes, holding cars, and all other aquaculture gear with the license number of the licensed area in a manner that is clearly visible. And 7.19.5, overwintering of equipment. Racks, rebar, or U-hooks used to secure nets on a licensed area must be either securely fastened to within 8 inches of the bottom or removed by January 15th, or before ice prevents removal, whichever comes first. Any licensee who wishes to overwinter racks on their grant must obtain and sign an agreement form available from the Shellfish Department. In parts of the harbor where there may be a risk of silt covering overwintered racks on a licensed area, the constable may waive the height requirement in 7.18.5 after a visit to the specific site and documenting the adjustment on the agreement. And
I would say it's enforceable if we, with 3,000 racks left out and 44 grand holders, I would say if we do only that, so no commercial patrol, no boat patrol, it would take a lot of dedicated time to do that,
What is the so there is
to document.
there is like there's rules to what happens when we leave stuff out, right?
I was just gonna.
It's on the
read that.
overwintering agreement
Yeah, it's.
itself.
7 days.
So yeah, you can
Also, the fines for gear violations, 7.19.6, is after receiving a written warning, the license has 7 days to comply. After the 7th day, a $50 ticket shall be issued for each day of non-compliance. And after 30 days of non-compliance, the licensee shall have his or her license revoked. Has there been any written warnings ever issued?
No,
Any fines?
nope. I tried to explain how I like to work with people, and if people want something different, I'm happy to do that. But in its current form, actual enforcement of that would require basically a dedicated person to doing only that during the low tides.
Measuring
Which I'm
the height of
happy
the
to.
racks. You're talking about measuring.
All of that, it would take more than one person.
But-
And I'm happy to do it, but it's
But
just.
the way that they usually work is you get a complaint, wouldn't you? Or somebody would get hurt.
I guess how it works is I trust people.
I think what you're, any of you guys, so I think like what we're getting at, what Chip's getting at, I know is that there is rules like when stuff's left out. So like, you know, and he's asking, did anybody get fined for leaving things out? And we know when there's stuff left out, you know.
Because I felt that people were working
Right.
towards the goal.
Okay.
And many people thought they had found what they lost.
Right. I personally don't want to like put anybody out of business or you know the rule, you lose your license. What is it after how many?
30 days.
And that's your lease, isn't it? You have your license to your lease. after 7 days.
After
Or after, what is it? 30 days. So in, I mean, I think a way, you know, a solution to this would be to, you know, do how it's like, just play this out how it's laid out, you know, and actually write fines and stuff. And
I would want to do that in a, like, not just for overwintering then. Then it would be for everything, because this isn't just for overwintering. So if I go out and there's bags that aren't marked,
well, I get that, and I think it sucks. I think that sucks because I don't want that to happen, but there's people that do want that to happen, and there's people that are upset the way things are, and it affects them too.
yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels. I think the group, the people in Wellfleet are pretty split over it. So I think a good start would be to just do this how it's laid out. So
it's hard to tell because boats are dragging up gear every day, but like yesterday,
What was
there
it
was a
last year?
rack
Was it the year
with, who knows? I mean, the one I found the other day, it was pungies, so it's just like, it was out there for years.
Right.
And
So there's no way
somebody,
to know if everybody's got their gear up or not at this point.
right, but tagged gear is still being found.
Okay.
And some gear is not tagged, which could be because it was before our overwintering discussion last year where we said everything had to be tagged and we had very good compliance. Or the ice can break stuff off too, it's plastic.
Yep.
So in the was it the recommendations of, or the ideas of how we could resolve this, I think enforcing the rules would be a way to resolve this, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, why change a rule that's not enforced for another rule that isn't enforced? I mean, that's what's been going on for 20 years here. It's not working too well, I don't think. It's time to, you know, look directly at the problem and have the people causing it responsible, held responsible.
I don't think that anybody should lose their lease. That's my opinion. But what are you gonna say, Alfred?
Well, we have rules and regulations. Obviously, none of them have been adhered to, all right? Because there's been no fines. The ice stuff went in January, February. We're still dealing with it in the middle of May. Okay, it's way past the 30-day deal. If we have a shellfish constable who has a set of rules, and obviously, in my opinion, she agreed to those rules when she allowed people to overwinter, all right? Those people agreed to the rules by overwintering. And we're 60, 90 days down the street, and nobody's been in trouble for it yet. So those rules, in my opinion, aren't worth the toilet paper they're written on.
Thanks.
In my opinion, because if we actually enforce those rules, maybe we wouldn't have this problem. And I'm stating this for a very simple reason. We lost a minimum of 15 days putting moorings in the mooring basin. So for 15 days, I had no place to put people's boats. Because we can't issue a citation or make somebody clean their mess up in less than 90 days. I don't believe we're doing our job. I mean, those rules were pretty clear. We all sat in the big room. We all said everything was going to be tagged as a group, okay? The stuff that's coming up, a good portion of it is not tagged. And maybe it's old gear, but you know what? Some of it looks pretty new galvanized. And we still haven't written a citation. I mean, I'm really sorry that we're having this discussion, but if we can't get somebody at the top, and I'm sorry, Nancy, I don't believe you're doing your job in this. I'm very clear about that because we just read a set of rules. You agreed that we needed an overwintering program. You allowed it to happen, and then you didn't do anything when it screwed up.
Sounds like you would like me to improve my performance.
That's one out of more than 20, it's not that you, Nancy, it's not your fault.
All right, thanks.
No, it is because through you I'd like to answer that thing. We had a new set of rules. We have a new shellfish warden who's supposed to do her job. We're supposed to listen to the new shellfish constable, or whatever her title is. We had an over-agreement thing that we all sat in a room, which we never did before, as a group, at the senior center. And we said we were going to do this.
Yep. All right,
I mean, I sat there and listened to this town say we were gonna pay attention.
It's really.
thanks, Alfred. You know what? I'm gonna let Chopper's got his hand up over there, and
Yeah, I'm the guilty one, most of that gear in the mooring basin there. I didn't get a citation, but I got plenty of hell for it, and I called on my ass about it for a long time. Due to the mud situation over there, that's why it took a lot longer. My apologies for the 15 days that they lost, I guess, but we still was getting some stuff out of that mud even after the moorings were in there. But it wasn't like she wasn't on my ass about it.
Colin.
So, the constable inherited this regulation and the idea of the contracts from the previous constable. As one person on the select board, only representing myself, I agree with Chip. If you've got a regulation, very little wiggle room. There has been a time period where there's been a lot of non-compliance, let's put it that way, over years. And this constable has been trying gradually to get things more compliant, in my opinion. But if you've got it on the books, it should be enforced, given that.
What wasn't
And,
enforced?
excuse me, I'm talking. I support you all in spades, but I would like to see more, penalties for things that aren't compliant. And I completely agree with the constable. On the other hand, if it's clearly on the books, I, as only one person on the select board, wish that what's in the regulations, it's either not there at all, it's changed, or if it's on the regs, if it's on the books, it's complied with. And if not,
Thanks, Helen. What were you gonna say, Justin?
The regulations are for compliance before the fact. Is there a fine for bags found yet, or is that a new thing that?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
So-
Is it 5? Because there's been a lot of complaints. We've had I think 4 racks with our tags returned to us. Maybe 6 bags. Dave has brought most of them with our tags on them. So, if we lost 6 racks and it's $5 a rack, a fine, we would gladly pay that.
It's not.
Regulations are
So the
compliance
regulations,
before the fact, in the overwintering, right? Push them down, or is there a fine for?
any racks that are damaged during the winter must be cleaned up by March 1st or when the departure of ice allows, whichever comes first. Failure to adhere to these conditions can result in suspension or revocation of my grant license in accordance with Section 11 of the Lovely
Which
Shellfish.
March 1st is pretty much the past 4 years has been the worst time for us.
That's true.
It's also easy to say when there's, no workforce, or there's no workforce around, and you got one guy out there trying to clear, 20 or 30 racks by himself, or, it's hard enough to get summer help,
Or if
to
you
go out
can't
there,
see
to
him.
go out there and make a living. You don't mind go out there, making sure that all your gear is tagged properly, or go out there just to make a living on a tire that's, crappy, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, is hard enough. There's not enough help around here to get half that done. Not that my cost of living down here is crazy as it is.
Do you guys have any ideas of what you guys want to do?
I would like to see compliance of the overwintering, 8 inches down, everyone responsible. With 1,000 racks tagged, they're all tagged.
So you're saying you want the regulations
We're a
enforced?
third of those racks out there, and we tag every one of them.
I think
You
if
can go out underground on a low tide, you can
Yeah.
see which racks are sticking up higher. It's not, everything's pretty much level right now.
So are you saying you want the regulations enforced as they are?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
8 inches is fine. 4 to 6, you can get them close to that, but
Cool.
sometimes they're shell and they don't go. The ice pushes them all down. If the ice comes in
Do we know
with a
that that's
strong
a problem?
south wind, then it tears things up.
They were
If
too
the ice
high.
just goes up and down,
All right, thanks.
everything gets pushed
Okay.
down.
Cool. So he,
Right.
what he's saying is he wants the regulations enforced.
I just don't know if we want to get ahead of this, because if 3,000 racks are left down at 8 inches, I mean, there might be a year where we lose 2,000 of them if the ice is really bad. So I don't know if there's something else that we can come up with, maybe pushing the racks flush or just
Right, we don't actually know that the racks that were the problem were up too high. We don't know.
Right.
Well, can I ask a
So-
question?
Yeah,
They were present.
They were present, but if they were
present.
4 inches and they got ripped up anyway,
Right, they were
then
still
4 inches
present.
is useless to us.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think I would like to remember, and I just want to put it out here because it was emailed to the Shellfish Advisory Board and to the Select Board. But the Marina Advisory Committee met and wants the racks out, off grants. They want them off because they feel that they are a hazard to navigation and to safety, and that these are still being found. And I mean, I know this to be true from my work with the draggers, that they are still coming up. So I feel like I do need to put that out there to accurately represent them. They invited me to their meeting, and I wanted to represent them here tonight.
Thanks. Stephen, you had said something?
Talking about elevations, we strictly broke clams, and we had a right whale that had orange net on it in Cape Cod Bay last spring. And Coastal Studies has videos of it all. That was clam net. That's completely on the dirt. So in other words, if the right whale is getting the net, okay, the ice is taking everything to the dirt. That's all I want to say.
I
We've
cleaned
had
up
racks
the
out
clam
there
net
since
today.
1995, and we've rarely had problems. We have 1,000 out there. We've replaced 20 and probably brought 19 to the dump. Not all of them were ours, but we bought 20 racks from Chopper this year. That's it. And we brought most of them to the dump. And I would also like to say, what damage has been done besides to the oyster farmers, to anything, to bring all of this about? And I feel there's a biased side on the Marine Advisory Board.
Thanks.
Well, it's not damage. I mean, it's just sloppy. I mean, people are still finding racks. I mean, whether it's you guys or somebody else. I mean, I'm not saying that people should haul their rack.
They're
creating hazards.
People
Yeah.
didn't push them down and be responsible
I know,
for the stuff.
I know, we're kind of in this together, and I'm just trying to maybe if somebody had
Absolutely.
any ideas besides, you know, just saying, let's leave it at inches
And
and
no one
enforce the
answered
rules.
what the fine was for a lost rack.
Well, we could come up.
What if there's a-
Rhonda, you were gonna say something?
Well, I don't use wire racks. I have a plastic pipe system, Nancy's seen that. How does this affect me?
I catch your plastic pipe racks.
What?
I catch your stuff out there.
Yeah, but, no, we came up with a better system last year. Previous years, we left them alone, we pound them down now. And that seemed to fix a lot of the problems.
You got
Good to know.
We adapted.
plastic cages on the bottom?
He's got PVC.
Should have.
Chopper, you're gonna say something?
Think it should matter.
Because to pull all my gear would be insane. Pounding it down is the only answer for me.
Is the answer to pound it down farther than 8 inches?
It's 8 inches.
Bob, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I bought racks myself, well, for grant, without feet, and it just takes a couple people, 2 tides, to get everything flush to the bottom. And 100% of it's still there in the spring. I think 4 inches is more reasonable. I mean, everyone knows, you know, if the ice can't get underneath it, it's not gonna flip it up. And if it's low enough, that a little bit of weight is gonna push it flush. There's issues with silt that's gonna kill the oysters that are there. I think we've all learned a lesson that there's a sweet spot for what you can control, what you can, if you lose half your product, then you're probably too big for what you can handle because of ice damage or winter kill or whatever. So there's a sweet spot for how many you can grow and get to market. And I think everyone's looking for that place. And if you get too big and you can't handle it and stuff gets destroyed or toasted, dead from winter kill, then maybe you should try less. It's better to do 100,000 correctly than 1 million incorrectly and lose 900,000. So I think
Unless
4
you're trying
inches
to
is more.
raise a family
Well-
live here.
So,
100,000 is not-
thanks, Will.
Maybe we could-
So I think
Those are figures of speech.
so I think we've like identified problems and some solutions that were given were to pump it, to enforce the regulations that are already here, to pump, to make it a enforceable regulation to pump this gear down all the way to the bottom. So that's two solutions so far. Do any of you guys have, like, Chopper, you wanna say, please?
Yeah, I'm not pumping mine down to the bottom, I'm taking mine the hell out of there this year.
All right.
I'm never gonna do that again. If some of the grants you pump them to the bottom, you might as well just bring the oysters to the dump, because they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
The muck. And if there ain't muck there, pump them to the bottom and see how quick you get it.
So you're
It's gonna
saying,
smother all your oysters. We're trying to grow oysters here, we're trying to make regulations for
think
what?
that'll
For
change
the
after we-
racks not to be lost? I don't really.
so are you saying the solution would be, it's not a solution to pump them down, cause they'll die?
Not at all. There was racks in the cove, I found footless racks of Bob's, a couple of his over there, they get taken sometimes.
Yep.
This was a phenomenal year with ice. We didn't have enough cold weather this year is why this happened, because we had no pack ice to ice that's solidly made in the harbor and push the stuff down. We had a couple inches of it, then it got really warm, then the big southwest wind, and all those icebergs came from Brewster, he came from Dennis, and came in here like bulldozers.
So what I'm hearing from you is your solution is to take everything off.
I'm taking everything off because I ain't never going to do that again.
Alright,
So I'm gonna dump them all out, sell them for 10 cents a piece, and I'm gonna take my racks home.
alright, so
That seems to be the solution.
take racks off. Brent, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I have to say that,
No, I meant Brent in the back, Brent Valley.
Brent Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go after.
Go next.
And you're both in the line, too.
Anyway, we've had racks out there ever since we got grants on, ever since I've had a grant out there, I've had racks, and we've always pushed them down, and then a problem. Not a one has been gone.
So your solution is to pump, to stop them all the way down?
Pump them all the way down, we put them down to about 4 to 6 inches.
Alright, so.
Location is key too,
And
where you are.
that seems to be, it depends where you are too a lot. Tide flow and current flow and direction.
So 46 inches off the bottom?
But 4 to 6 is about the range for a lot of places.
Cool, thanks Brent. What about you, Chip?
I always thought that one of the biggest mistakes this town made was not putting a limit on the amount of oysters people could grow. What is the limit? 20 million, 30 million, 40 million?
Nobody knows.
So
Nobody knows.
So your solution, we're talking about solutions to this problem though, so what's the
That's the
solution?
solution to the problem.
So
You get people to the point where they can handle what they can grow.
Alright, so
What is the point of
handle.
this? Some people have 9 acres farms, some people have 2 acre farms. This is
Mike, what were you gonna say?
obsolete. That's just
Justin,
to
can you let Mike talk?
Sure, please,
I had excellent results last winter by pushing the racks down to within 4, 5, 6 inches and using extra fasteners on the bags. And we had one rack pop out, which we found the other day on the inspection. I moved all the racks to the east side of the grant and pointed them all north-south with very good results.
So you're saying 4 to 6 inches and pin bags down, well, like 4 corners?
I've also heard someone say using U-hooks underneath the feet.
Yep.
I mean, it's more work, but
I know guys that leave them in East Dam, they use augers on each end of the rack, tie a rope over the bags, and then onto the next rack, or over and over. 2 augers on each end of the racks, and he has pretty good luck. John McElroy, but using augers.
So pinning stuff down to the bottom. So, does anybody have any more solutions to the problem of leaving stuff out in the winter? From the audience.
It seems like we can maybe lower it down a little bit and try to enforce it, and hopefully anybody that leaves their racks and wants to continue to leave their racks will pump it down to 8 inches or 4 inches or whatever we come up with, because if we have to deal with this next year and the year after and every year it's just this mess, I mean, we're gonna eventually have to do something more drastic.
Did you write down all those solutions? Did
I?
Yeah.
I've got 'em in the minutes.
You did? What were those? Can you read
The
those?
ones
again?
that Nancy read, and then,
What we just talked
what
about?
we just talked about.
What did we just talk about here?
Um,
Hey, can you guys be quiet so that the camera can like pick this up and then Zach can just say what we just went over?
So I didn't write down every single one, but the discussion was about enforcement of current regulations and then what works for the distance from the bottom.
Alright.
And then several people reported excellent results putting racks 4 to 6 from the bottom. And then Chip was saying about using the current rules and penalties that are in place to create compliance.
Can I just also ask one more thing? So the current regulation is 8 inches, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in order to do anything, the regulation needs to be changed, right?
Only if they
Or
you
enforce that.
decide it's 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Only
Well,
if you decide
that's-
it's 4 to 6.
Right, if you change, if you wanna
Then
change
that would
it
have
from
to
8
be-
inches,
right.
because it's a good idea and people agree to it, I mean, or, you know, if that's the proper thing to do.
Yep, I want to be very clear about enforcement of this is going to be difficult with a 3-person department. And in the wintertime is when we have the most wild fishing. And I will be going to town meeting and asking for an extra person.
What do you
I
think?
understand the
Full-time,
enforcement
year-round,
stuff,
for
but
grant
whether
oversight.
you enforce 8 inches or 6 inches or 4 inches, it doesn't matter because it's still enforcement.
I agree.
So-
I'm saying that the way my department is already at its max, because we also are doing propagation, the exact same propagation activities when you all are. We are harvesting our we are pitting our oysters, we are distributing oysters around the harbor, and we pitted, I think, the first or second week in January this year. So we're doing that all at the same time, and that takes all hands on deck. And live oysters are, it's always a juggling act with 3 people about how you prioritize things. We are right now breaking down bags, and we just are who we are. There's only 4 hours of low tide, and sometimes not even. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
we are definitely trying to make sure that we are ensuring a sustainable wild fishery in addition to all of our, oversight and monitoring. So I just want to be very clear that it will require more body, another body,
Jude just got her hand up and then
or
I'll
priorities.
just go to Zach.
Nancy, okay, I'm just a recreational taxpayer. I have no skin in the game. You were hired to enforce the rules. We can all play the tapes, and now to hear that you need get another person is absolutely outrageous, okay? And that we need to be clear about, okay? So, we want one ticket, one $50 ticket. How many licenses have rec people bought this year? We want to know about your income. We want results, okay? Before we hear about yet another person to enforce the rules that everyone agreed on, okay?
Thanks, Jude.
Thank you.
Zach, you were gonna say
Nancy,
something?
if it can't be enforced by your department with the people that you have, then it has to be take everything off, because then there's no enforcement.
Thanks, Ralph. Zach had his hand up and he's on the board, so we're just gonna let him say something.
He's on.
I was just gonna.
All for.
I was, that is an issue, is the manpower. I was wondering about the idea of, for enforcement pre-winter of whatever height restriction is put on. Is it possible to deputize and have someone report back to you?
I mean, we'd have to hire, I don't know
Or
about.
a volunteer?
I don't know.
From within the
because
community who could take a
in
look?
order to write a
and-
citation, you have to be a constable, you have to be sworn in.
Right,
You
so
know,
that-
like Drew, he's been sworn in.
Right.
And I have Drew until October, but that's,
But not for writing citations, but just for letting you know what's going on. Just as a manpower idea.
Yeah.
I know there's people that'd be willing to do it, and I think that's an important part of it is that part of the compliance. Well,
You could have like somebody from Indian Neck, somebody from Egg Island, somebody from Logie Bay volunteer to just go around, and that would be.
Yes, report to your neighbors, that's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
go over.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
thing is that I trust people.
Yes, no.
I
reporting
trust
my
people
neighbors.
when they fill out their paperwork.
Chip's gonna.
Yeah.
I just have one
No,
suggestion.
no, this Chip.
Yeah, Chip, not Brett.
You're Chip. He's Chip. You're Brett.
Unless you're talking about it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is the biggest difficulty is everybody's complaining about being compliant to having their gear 8 inches off the bottom. Well, I mean, to me, what the problem I see is, it's not the gear that's 8 inches from the bottom, it's the gear that's been torn from the bottom and moved across the harbor. If that can be identified and the owner doesn't take care of it in a prompt fashion, then is that enforceable?
Yeah,
Without
but
taking up
there
all
was
that
always
time?
prompt action. Every time I called somebody and told them of a problem, there was prompt action.
I haven't heard that from them. I mean,
From
I'm
who?
sorry, I'm
No, that's
not
okay.
pushing on you,
This
but,
is-
you know, from what I'm
from-
hearing from the fishermen themselves, I mean, they're.
I guess it
getting
depends on
gear
who
all
you
the
talk
time,
to.
and- Yeah.
I was gonna do Rodney and then Chop.
This is for Dave Anderson. You may have found my pipe, and I'm sorry about that.
It doesn't-
Never called me, but I didn't, my previous years, we didn't have anything tagged. Nancy enforced that tag. We spent over $3,000 in tags to tag everything. And then Nancy fell well with this, but Freddie and I are out there almost every day. We pick up everyone's stuff. When the ice breaks apart, he and I are the first ones out there. And somehow I've become responsible for Logie Bay and the Ten Island. And I've been doing my part, so.
You bring your
the push
loader down
me-
there too, don't you?
What?
You bring your loader down there and move the ice and
Yeah,
everything too, don't
yeah.
you? Yep.
Yeah, I make it happen.
Yep.
So, because I have a lot of oysters out there.
And, you know, we held, this is the second year that we've held 2 cleanup days, not the one. The one that happens for Shellfish Advisory is usually in May, but we have held one for the past 2 years in February, right after the ice. And we get a lot of people coming to help. I think we cleaned up like 2 tons of rebar.
Why
Hey-
should people pick up
Hey
other
Jude,
people's shit?
Jude,
Sorry.
can you sit down?
Okay.
Chopper was next.
Okay, but,
Jude, I get it. Wait your turn.
all right.
I'm just saying,
My
Chop,
question-
you know what,
as a
Chop?
farmer, I am being responsible.
Right.
And I'm taking care of my farm and my neighbors' farms, which I love my neighbors. I'll do anything for my neighbors.
Thanks. Chopper was gonna say something
So
and
the
then
compliance
Brett.
thing, that's what we're talking about here? Or is it the overwintering agreement? What are we talking about?
We
Overwinter,
should talk
all
about
of it.
enforcing the compliance of
Okay,
the 8 inches
okay.
before
Did-
changing it to
It seems to me that
something else.
she's getting
Right.
reprimanded for not enforcing the aftermath of the problem. That's what I've been hearing. What does the people want to see happen to the people that didn't clean things up? I myself cleaned up very vigorously. I put tens of thousands of dollars into labor of cleaning this harbor up with my stuff all over it. Did anybody not take care of their mess? I know mine was in the mud, we kept boiling out of the mud. You couldn't see it until 2 days later, then you'd see it, more of it. I took probably 300 or 400 bags out of one area of mud that's 6 or 8 feet deep.
So you're asking Nancy if anybody did not clean
Yeah.
up their mess or make an attempt
Yeah,
to?
it seems like this is the whole catalyst for this whole thing.
No,
is
people, I think there was a lot of gear, and that it didn't all show at the same time. And when I found something, I asked somebody, I would call you, I called
Did I go get
Aaron,
it
I
anytime?
called Zach Runner, I called a lot of different people, the Dalbys. This has been found in this area, and they would go and clean it up.
So there was no people that did not make an
That
attempt?
did- No.
Okay.
That- As far as I know, like if something was brought to my attention or I found something on patrol, I would let people know, and they would act on it.
Brett, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I just thought, you know, if you wanted to be strict, this is to Nancy, if you wanted to be strict, and you put the grant names in a hat, you stir them up, and you pick one, right? And you be strict with that person that day. Each day there's a new person, right? But what all I'm saying is.
We have to be fair.
That people, no, that is fair,
We
that
have to
people
be-
talk.
What if your name gets picked twice?
That's not a good idea.
No, you
Fair across the board. It's either everybody or nobody.
It's a good idea.
Mike, you were gonna say something?
Yes, I think for the most part, we're all very responsible growers.
Yep.
And we're doing the best we can. And Mother Nature's blindsided us a couple years in a row, and it's very, very difficult to deal with. I understand that.
Some of us want this to be a community effort and some don't.
Absolutely right.
I know, I don't want to pick up other people's mess, and I don't wanna see other people.
Nobody does.
No, exactly, nobody does.
That's part of living in a community.
And
You know,
I
that's
also
how-
don't wanna see people lose their farms and their business
Pick up
either.
this shit.
So, what, I think like what we should, for me, I think that these regs should be enforced as they're laid out and,
Were they or were they not?
they were not.
They weren't, she went around to every goddamn grant making sure it happened, right?
Nobody
I
got,
signed the thing.
nobody got
Everybody I know
fines.
signed the thing.
Nobody got any fines.
Like I said, what are we talking about? The aftermath of the disaster or of the beforehand?
I think we're talking about after.
Okay, well, that's why I asked you clearly.
So you want us, what?
So you are talking about the aftermath.
That's what we're, that's what.
Are we talking about?
Would it
that
make it
before
better
and
if I
after the
issued
goddamn tornado?
citations?
Is, that was, so we're talking about the aftermath, yeah, I didn't understand what you were saying.
Sounds like
Talking about both, enforcing
But
the-
so there's 7 days to get one, so every time one of his things bubbles out of the mud, he has 7 days to get that piece of equipment.
What if the town's not? I know.
Right, so we should be focusing on how we can make it not happen again next year.
So we're talking, so it's,
Because
Hey,
that's,
to be clear, I think we're talking,
next year.
to be clear, we're talking about the after. Hey, Jude, Jude, can you just stop for a minute? So we're talking about the aftermath of what goes on and solutions to making this so that it doesn't actually happen. So what,
What didn't happen?
the regulations didn't get enforced,
Wait a minute.
how do we know that?
What regulation didn't
No
enforce
fines.
it?
so no fines were given out.
Okay, that doesn't mean it wasn't enforced.
No
You know how many
ticket.
police officers are
No
on the
money.
highway right now and how many people are speeding?
No money. No money
What do you
to
mean,
the
so-
town.
Jude,
Come on.
I'm trying to understand what Chopper's
Just because
saying.
there's no tickets doesn't mean it's not enforced. First of all, stop saying it's not enforced.
That's correct.
Was it?
It's a lot of
You
manpower.
goddamn tickets.
That's
You
what I
have
thought.
more goddamn grants since she's been online than ever in history.
So you're saying that
What's
this,
not enforced?
so you're saying that with everybody, so, you know, you left your stuff out there, right?
Yeah.
She
I
didn't-
had an overwintering agreement
I
with a
signed
number
the
of
goddamn
racks
thing.
on
I'm
it.
Yep.
responsible for it and I moved it all.
Yep.
What's the problem?
So,
cost the
so
town.
It
what,
didn't cost the town
what-
100 goddamn cent to clean up my stuff.
yeah.
She's talking about
Yes, ma'am.
another full-time employee to deal with
No,
this.
It's not,
Hey!
yeah, stop, Nancy, it didn't cost the town anything, I'm just trying to listen to Chopper and see what's going on
We're
here,
talking in circles here.
so Nancy did not, the Shellfish Department didn't write up $50 fines,
Okay.
that's part, yeah, I know, I get.
So no speeding tickets were given on Route 6
Yeah,
today. You think
that's-
nobody was
that's-
speeding?
Dave, I also want
What
to
are you
say
saying?
that the idea is that Nancy didn't write any tickets, and it's not necessarily that she's not enforcing it.
Why?
She's
Because
chosen
she didn't communicate.
not to write
She
any
had us go clean
$50
it up as
ticket.
soon as she found out about it.
And she said that.
Why didn't she give us a ticket? The officer told us to slow down, we slowed down. Why get a ticket?
Yeah, it's the same way. You
How
get
long?
warnings.
Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to say something through you.
Give me a ticket if it makes everything better. I had shit all over the place.
Okay, Chopper, let me ask through you to Ms. Chiafetta. The issue appears to be not what happened after this horrible winter, but whether or not the people who had signed the contracts, who had made their agreement about overwintering their gear on their grants, were you able to monitor whether or not they had done what they're supposed to do with that equipment?
No, I trusted them.
Okay, so that would be a moment for more grant inspections if you wanted to keep this reg. Now,
Agreed.
yeah, being tough about budget, I would say, Shellfish Department, you work it out. But I'm being horrible, but,
No.
no, but wait. But it's not for a very long period of time.
It just happens at a time where there's a lot going on.
Yes, but if you can schedule that in, right, at that time, the issue is not anybody getting tickets after they'd been compliant and snugged their stuff down and, done whatever they wanted to do there. They shouldn't get tickets for what the weather did to them after that. So that's my take on it, and I have to say, I was on the committee when we drafted this laboriously. And the punchline, looking at Becca, and I don't think Jake was on yet, and John was on, the punchline was, let's see how it works. Okay? So that's what we're doing right now.
So I'm gonna say, Mike Chopper, and Nate.
Would it make everyone happy if tickets were written? I mean, come on, cleanup was,
I've
done pretty damn well.
So we're talking about solutions to the aftermath of like this stuff, and in the I get it. In the regulations, that's what said is supposed to happen, and that's why we're having this conversation, because it's a regulation. I think everybody can understand that. Yeah, we like to clean up everything, but that is a regulation. Chopper.
Can you read that regulation to us again, please?
Yeah.
And then explain what didn't get done.
Where is it?
I want to know what it says and what didn't get done. What violated it, what is the
Or-
violation?
Just read the winterizing agreement. So here.
All right. So what we're talking about is.
I want to hear the regulation we're talking about.
Yep.
So the overwintering agreement says, number 5.
No.
Number 4, any racks that are damaged during the winter must be cleaned up by March 1st or when the departure of ice allows, whichever comes first. And then it goes into.
Chopper wants to know about the fines and gear violations.
Keep going.
So after receiving written warning, the licensee has 7 days to comply. After the 7th day, a $50 ticket shall be issued for each day of non-compliance.
Okay.
After 30 days of non-compliance, the licensee shall have his or her license revoked.
Okay, there you go. Did anybody violate that for 30 days?
No warning.
Did anybody?
She read it. I got the text messages. She wrote it. It wasn't on a piece of paper, but I got 1,000 text messages. And every time I.
And how many
answered
times did I drive by your grant?
Lots. But besides that, what time was violated and who did it?
You said everybody complied
If
with
you
it.
say you want a
Wait,
ticket.
say it again.
What was violated?
So
Because,
What part-
because
wait,
the
so-
thing is that,
No.
Chopper, the gear, there still was gear, right? There's still, even though maybe you couldn't see it, or maybe, like, in Chipman's Cove, there was still a lot of gear.
I agree.
So, no matter the fact that Ed had been out there day after day, and you had been out there, and you guys had that whole team that went into the back of Chipman's,
We cleared that out when there was still icebergs. Everything obtainable we got. The stuff that was in the deep, deep mud, just as the same, there's still stuff out in the harbor from everybody.
there's still, I mean,
There's still racks out there, but
the
you
draggers
can't
are
find
still
somebody
bringing
who
it in,
can't-
but
If you can't see it, that's not right. If there's something there that's visible, you've seen it, and you.
Is there something
and
there
you don't
that's
do something
visible?
about it. That's what the regulation
in the,
says.
in Chipman's?
Is there something visible anywhere in the harbor that people had out?
Not that I know of.
We did it.
Not that I know of. Do you still see stuff out there, Alfred?
I'm all set with this discussion. What I'd like to ask is, the racks, through you, I'd like to ask Chopper a question.
Yep.
How high off the bottom were your racks, approximately?
Anywheres from 3 inches to probably 12, 13 inches probably.
So if that's true, and I'm not doubting you in any shape or
No,
form.
that's the fact.
Did the ones that were 4 inches off the ground stay and the taller ones leave?
No.
Everybody left?
And why? Because I have fluctuating bottom over there.
No, I-
have a foot of mud that fluctuates with every wind.
I don't disagree with that. But what my question to you is though, the ones
Do I
that...
honestly think that they would stay there if there was 4 or 5 inches from the bottom? In my case, this year, I don't think they would have.
So if you pumped them down to 4 inches,
I don't
which was suggested...
I honestly don't think they would have stayed there in my circumstances. What happened, Alfred? I really don't. Honestly, I don't think they would have stayed there. I had rows.
Thanks for that.
Four wide.
Okay. So my question,
Thanks for that.
My question to that is quite simple. If they're not gonna stay on this granite 4 inches, how are they gonna stay at 8 inches?
Same bottom is different.
Okay.
It's Nate's turn.
Half of it, Choppers, half of your bottom still sand though? It's not all mud.
I have shell on the right side of the grant, shell and oysters like wild, that area, that's sandy-ish, but on the other
So
side.
I think to answer your question, Chopper already answered it. He said that it wouldn't, and that's why he's taking it all off. Nate, what were you
I'm
gonna say?
I'm taking it off, because I ain't never going through this again.
Yeah. Why don't we, make this, start over?
Start over?
Yeah.
I've done that.
No. The whole,
Discussion.
yeah,
these such certain and Starfredge, yeah.
Let's just erase last winter too.
Yeah, start Fred's, and, okay, you got a lot of choppers things, okay, and, I don't.
Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron and,
Justin, Ron, yep.
yeah.
Dolby's.
Yeah, Dobby's,
All of us, we're all one.
Yeah.
We're all one. Everybody. All right, everybody.
yeah.
One, two, three.
Let's not do this no more. To make a suggestion, okay, bye.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you, Dave.
All for one for all.
yeah,
Reset.
yeah, reset.
One thing I think maybe we've lost sight of is the compliance on the grant. Pump down, bags, tags, whatever. And then there's this, what we've been calling the aftermath. If there was any non-enforcement, it happened in the overwintering section where it says March 1st or March 31st, whatever the date was. Stuff was not off the whole harbor, basically, within that time. And it was virtually impossible to get out of it. If anybody has ever taken a walk between Old Pier Road and Indian Neck, they're not here today. Because their shit is 8 feet or more deep. And I know because I've been in it.
So,
And I was in the kayak with the paddle, I could push down, and I could just keep pushing that paddle down
Let's
farther and
move
farther and
forward.
farther. So that makes it difficult to retrieve that gear. The stuff with the bags that's stuck to the racks, it kind of stays up. But a rack that has its own weight, it disappears.
So as a collective group of people here, could we agree that these fines for gear violations should happen?
Yeah, if someone's not compliant.
What's the fine?
It's $50, but you could, so this is what the regulation is. After 30 days of non-compliance, the licensee shall have his or her license
Yeah, but it's
revoked.
more than that, wasn't it $50?
It's
Per day.
Accumulated
It's
every
after
day
the
up
seventh
until
day of
that
$50 ticket
Yeah,
shall
but
be
that's
issued.
$50 every day after that.
Yeah.
That's just somebody
How
being
could
told
you-
they have something there,
And
and
they
they
don't.
don't do nothing about it.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, that's just,
Warning is
they don't
right.
give a good goddamn
Formal.
about it. Of course, you should fine them and do whatever.
Only if a formal.
But if somebody finds a rack,
Warning is
10
written,
years
right?
from now, you're gonna take his rack because he lost a rack?
That's what I'm
Come
saying.
on.
No, it's after the warning.
Well,
Yeah.
Dave, my take on it is, I think that enforcement, I find it unusual to have a group of people that want tickets written, that seems to be the solution.
We just want
Nancy,
people
write tickets.
responsible for their own gear.
I understand, it sounds like last winter was a bad winter, and I don't know, but it sounds like that's what it was. And I don't think that writing tickets is the answer, I think
That's the problem.
good communication between the constable and the folks that she's having difficulty with to get them to snap out of it and comply. I don't know that writing tickets is the answer, but if somebody's a flagrant violator, it's a different story.
Nancy, you're
I
gonna
think
say
that's
So
up to her
I
discretion.
need to be honest about my personal feelings about gear and racks in particular. I am uncomfortable with 3,000 racks staying out in our harbor because one thing we know is that the ice is going to hit somewhere. It might not be Chopper next year, it might be somebody else. We do know that the ice is going to hit. It's going to. And it pains me when I go every other day down to the end of the L Pier and pick up a rack that a boat has dragged in. A lot of guys fish by themselves and it's not safe to be dragging in a rack. It makes me uncomfortable to think about an upside down rack somewhere. So I'm happy to be more strict and enforce the letter of the law as written, but I would like to entertain a discussion about less gear getting left out. I think maybe a certain percentage of what you have out there, something that will work for your business, but will get just 3,000 racks to me seems like a lot. And so I would love it if we could talk about ways that would work for your businesses. I want a year-round oyster market. It's very important for Wellfleet's brand name. But I feel very uncomfortable with 3,000 racks left out there because some of them will end up as a safety hazard to our other harbor users, whether it be commercial fishermen dragging or water skiers or whatever. And I know nothing's happened yet, but it could. And I want to go on the record as stating what the people in the department and I do feel about the racks.
So, thanks. I'm gonna say Stephen, Aaron, and then Justin, but I think we could start, not that everybody probably doesn't already do this, but, you know, like consolidating gear as the year goes on, like October, start bringing stuff in that you're not using and like, you know, just be on that, which I think everybody already does. So Stephen, what was Stephen gonna say?
Gear, believe us, nobody wants to lose gear. Nobody wants to lose gear.
I don't wanna lose gears. Stephen, what were you gonna say?
I got a question for Nancy. When this wintering over agreement comes in, how many tides do you have that you can go out and inspect on? Because 90% of those tides are in the dark, right?
It's a good point.
So how can you really enforce this properly?
Also, like Egg Island, you need a negative tide to see it.
That's why I'm asking the question, in other words, so.
I have done Aaron Francis's grant inspection in the
How
dark
many times
before.
can you do this efficiently, okay?
It's a
For you,
problem.
to you to enforce what Chip's asking you, being the person on the board, okay? What's been written already. Very tough for you, even think about enforcing it. And then you come in and you told us that there was 34
44 grant
Okay.
holders.
How many grant holders are there in Wellfleet?
134.
Okay. So that's.
But there's 90 farms, 90 farms, right? Because like some grants, like on Egg Island, 2 grants is
A
one.
third of the industry.
No. The ones
That stay.
have nothing.
A
They
third
have
that stay. 1/3 that stay.
Some people don't do anything.
Nothing to use it.
No, so hold on, so 44 is probably more along the line of the 90 farms, right? Because when you turn in an overwintering agreement, it's for your 3 grants that are together. So it's almost half of the people leave, so that tells you something about the importance of having oysters out there for a market, right?
That's understandable.
But some of the gear, some people put in with cages on the bottom. Some people put in and have bags on the bottom. Some people put in and have racks on the bottom.
But that gives you all those.
So not all of those, so there's 3,000 racks, but not all of them are,
But that
so
gives
it's
you all
probably
those
less.
sites you have to see before the winter. That's what I'm asking, that's all.
It's a tall order, I agree, that's what I'm saying.
There's no way that
That's what I'm
your
saying.
team can inspect it all.
Thanks, you.
3 or 4 times.
So what the point you're making is it's really hard
Enforce
for,
it.
it's hard for her to inspect it, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, so there's no way to enforce it, but ain't inspected.
Gotcha. Aaron?
Well, if you got 3 guys, you know, spreading out, you know, you could easily cover a freaking Indian neck in a day and a half with one guy, Egg Island a day, one day, and then, you know, the rest you can do in a day. So it's not gonna be no 10-day project by any means.
Just remember, Aaron, we're taking all our oysters
Yeah,
off too, we've got our own propagation
before you
bed.
pick the day. You need to pick the tide before you pick the day.
What about the photographers? No.
Photographers?
No.
Drones.
Drone.
No.
We should all take pictures of.
Binoculars.
Everyone has cell phones.
I think,
Take pictures.
all right.
We can all take pictures.
All right.
every day.
That's a good
What Aaron, what,
Everybody's got cell phones.
all right, what Aaron just said, what your point that you were making was that the shellfish department should pick a tide before they pick a day to go out because it would make more sense
It
that
totally makes sense,
every
doesn't it?
Sunday is a hard
You pick a tide, you pick a good cook 3 days of tides that you have, and then do your inspection.
I would have to agree
You
with
don't
that
pick January
because
15th
we've had that
of the day.
problem with my grant because
Yeah.
my grant's inaccessible because of
Right.
what Stephen was talking about. And,
Right.
you know, on Sunday, you may not be
We look at
working or
that.
somebody might not be working. and that tide, we have to be there that day.
Yep.
So, there we go.
You need to split
That's a solution.
the whole thing in 3 or 4 days.
Justin, and then, black sunglasses back there, and then Bob.
Stacy.
First,
Heidi.
we're so concerned about like people running into our racks and stuff, but yet there's no signage at the boat rentals or at the ramp. None, zero. For years, we've been talking about it. I've talked to Mike multiple times about it.
Signage
Why
for
not
what?
a big sign here that says, stay away from these big yellow buoys. Yet every day, jet skis, everything else, right over our grant, like an hour before low tide.
That would be awesome.
Both rentals and recreational.
That would be awesome. That was,
Every day. Every single day.
They go
No,
flying.
we're worried about our gear in the winter, but again, this $1 million industry, no one's thought to put a sign up at the boat ramp.
all right, let's talk about, let's talk about overwintering though. In the back.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, you're saying that you have budget constraints as far as enforcing, like, when people do sign the overwintering agreements, but what about placing the burden of proof on the farmers themselves? Like, he said, everybody has a cell phone. Make them provide you, like, photographic evidence that, yes, I've overwintered this in a way that everybody in this room, it seems like, agrees that sweet spot to pound your gear down or get it out of the water.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody knows their farm, and yes, they're all different, you know.
So am I gonna get 1,000 photos from the Dolbys?
Not only that, I'm gonna also get,
I mean, if you can't.
Can't wait for that.
I mean,
Get a
if
big,
all this stuff ends up all over the place, you can say, okay, like, clearly the way that they overwintered their farm is not acceptable. You know, like, we can look back on it next year and say, like, all right, this is a crapshoot because it keeps happening. And yes, it sucks for us to wander around and pick up garbage because that's what it becomes. I mean, we had a giant tube of rebar that people were taking pictures with over by our landing that, you know, we don't use metal gear, but we go and grab it because it looks like hell. And people don't come here because we farm oysters, they come here because they want to see our beaches.
so Justin, Chopper, and would you guys be, do you guys think that's a solution that you could get on board with? Taking pictures of the stuff that you
Yes.
leave out?
Maybe not, I mean, if you want 1,000 pictures, or we can give you like a big picture of the, video, or we have all our racks tagged, I mean, you guys came out and looked.
Well, we put 1,000 quick.
All right, Bob,
Ben was
and
hand up
then
too.
Bob was first, and then Ben.
I think there's a price to be paid for leaving your gear out.
Can you guys be quiet?
The price that was paid by people that lost their gear was a heavy price. And I think people are gonna adjust to the potential of losing thousands of dollars of oysters and gear. If I were just whispered in my ear, how about a drone on a minus tide January 1st? And you can hire a drone for someone will probably volunteer a drone, at least identify people. I think the law was written, backtrack a little bit, for the scofflaws that are thumbing their nose at the system and they just are ignoring it, and then whatever the chips may fall, but you try to legislate some morality here, and that's a tough call when people are trying to do the right thing. They paid the price, and their gear loss and oyster loss. I think technologically, someone taking a video, submit a video of their bed January 1st or whatever,
Like
submit
with
to the Shellfish Department. You
measurements.
have an ATV which can handle 50% on one tide of the whole harbor in one tide. I've done it. And a drone to take a video, at least identify someone that you can say, hey, get your shit together. So,
Thanks, Bob. What were you gonna say, Ben?
Yeah, I was going back to the boat rental thing because I work in the boat rental booth. And in that booth, we give out a chart of the harbor with every single boat rental. It's a double-sided chart with a NOAA chart on one side, and the other side it has a map drawn by Slade of all the shellfish grants. We tell them that they cannot go in them, and where they can and can't go.
Thanks, Ben. That's
People go in them anyways. It's no different than people coming down our grant next to Mayo Beach with the signs posted to say no shellfishing, and picking up the clams and the oysters. People are gonna do whatever they want.
We appreciate what you're saying, but this is about overwintering, but that's wicked, that's awesome.
No,
That should happen.
I disagree with you. It was brought up that our rental boats
Yep.
were all over the Grand, and that we didn't police them.
No, he was saying the boat ramp.
No, he said in the rental
No, he
boat.
said-
Full rentals.
He said
I've
boat
never
rental.
seen that
Sorry, I
pamphlet.
missed that.
I want to be very clear that if we're gonna throw shit, it's coming back. Okay.
Well, we can keep throwing.
We've been renting boats. We've been renting boats since 1954. We've tried to do our best, okay, in order to keep the people out of the shellfish grants. Some of the shellfish grants are ours. So when somebody runs aground with a rental boat and damages it, we have to fight with them to get the money out of it. And they rip my nets. Don't you think we do the best we could to keep them out of there? So to say that we are not trying to keep rental boats off of grants is absurd.
All right, we're talking about overwintering, so.
I wasn't aware that there was a pamphlet. I've never seen it. I've been down there my whole life.
You don't rent a boat, so we don't
That's-
give you one.
All right,
I've seen boats and I've never seen one pamphlet.
all right.
What do we wanna do?
Can I please just, if he's gonna start throwing?
No,
I wanna point
no,
out
we're
over
talking
one
about-
Bay Sales that provides the
Dude.
same exact
No,
services that
he said,
had
take
no
it out to the
problem.
parking lot if you can't listen to him.
It's overwintering.
Yeah.
Enough,
No one wants to take that.
enough.
Shut up.
All right, so
what have we heard with
in our shellfish advisory board, do we have any, like, are you, anybody gonna make a motion to do something to, like, to
I've
do
heard some
something?
ideas about photography and drones. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's
Drones aren't
something-
gonna measure that.
The drones are tough. I don't know how you would ever do that, but people taking pictures, if they're up for it, it seems to me it's more onerous on the people that are on the grants doing that. But if it's gonna help Nancy and she thinks she can look at them, I mean, at least it's evidence that you guys are complying. The whole idea is to get everybody to comply, because it's gonna be better for the harbor and better for the industry. So if that's the way to do it, maybe that's an idea.
So, do you wanna make a motion to do anything for drones?
I don't think we need that to be a motion, unless we're gonna change the regulations. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
because
changing it from 8 inches requires,
A
yeah,
change in the regs.
it changing the regs.
Chip, were you gonna say something?
I like to go back to my question. In the constable's opinion, is the current reg enforceable? Can you enforce it?
The 8 inches.
I can
that's part
enforce
of
it if that is all we do, and it's
No, it's
going to
part-
be a challenge, but I will take that challenge on, just like I have taken on a lot of other things
Mm-hmm.
and tried to improve them.
I mean, if it's enforceable, maybe we don't have to change it.
It's possible to enforce it.
You know, I mean,
Go out there on the road and you measure it.
there's a ton of problems, and I don't think we can focus on any single one of them. I think, until we start with at least trying to enforce what's on the books, and then if it doesn't work, let's change it, I mean, give these guys the benefit of the doubt, and, yeah, they're doing the best they can, but the ones that aren't, maybe it's, that's what's putting the black eye on the whole situation.
And I will say that I
Might
would,
fix
I would
it.
love help trying to get the wrecks out of the harbor itself, like a concentrated effort for people who have lost racks, whether you lost 1 or 10 or 100, that you dedicate a day or a tide out there on a boat, working with your neighbors. There's a lot of boats in this harbor, and go out there and try and grapple up. And I know it's a tall order, but I also know that the Center for Coastal Studies gives grants for it and stuff. So I would like to see a more concerted effort at cleanup overall, because one place that a beach cleanup really doesn't always get to is like the deeper water. And I know that like ARC and Zach Rennert and the Dalbys went out to the west side, they went to Old Saw, like we had specific areas, but I have heard recently that there's, I heard it at the Marine Advisory Committee meeting, that there's gear on Billingsgate and on the west side still.
Tom, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I'm kind of a what-if guy. I mean, what if 90 farms this winter say I want a winterized agreement? I think what you got to prepare yourself, Nance, is how many can you enforce? Kind of give us an idea what your staff.
I don't know.
Do the analytics and just say, all right, I can enforce, instead of 3,000 racks, I can do 2,000 racks, or I can do 4,000 racks if I did the following three things. I think we've got to prepare ourselves. If they all come back and say, we want a farm in the winter, and there's 8,000 racks out there,
So can the
she's
shellfish,
never going to be able to enforce any of the
There are
regs.
only
so can the
certain
shellfish
farms that have
department,
areas that can-
can the
Yeah.
shellfish department determine how many racks they can handle and how much, what they can monitor and are capable of keeping an eye on? Just get that data.
I don't know.
I think after last winter,
Alfred.
I think you're gonna lose.
I really don't
There'll be a lot less racks out there after last winter.
Oh, I'm gonna guarantee there's gonna be about 850 less.
I'd like to
So now we're down to 2,100.
Alfred,
Through you, I'd like to ask Nancy where she's concerned about the number of racks out there, what she has for thoughts to decrease the number, being our shellfish constable.
Well, one of the things that had kind of come out at the last Shellfish Advisory meeting was that you leave a certain percentage. Like if you have 500, maybe you're only leaving out 100, or I don't know, but that you only leave out a small percentage, not everything. And then something else was like, you know, putting some sort of a deposit account, right? Where if you're gonna leave stuff out, then you put a deposit account, that would help with cleanup. Because sometimes we're not gonna find your racks on your neighbor's bed or in Chipman's Cove. They're gonna get dragged up by draggers, but we'd have some money to perhaps hire a grappling crew.
Good luck on the grappling.
Will that be determined by the depth of the grant? Because some people can drive their cars to their grant. Some people don't see any sand until a minus 1.4, like. That has to be into that equation of your percentage, or you're just gonna cut people down.
Number per acre.
Cut them down.
Yeah, I don't have any easy answers.
And not have them backed up ready to sell, you know, like.
No, I think that less would be better. I do believe less would be better.
The most efficient way is keep them in bags, then when they're ready, you sell them.
Helen?
I have a question. This is about overwintering. So, through you to the constable or anybody else, how are you guys all feeling about the need for this contract? Does it really help, or is it just yet another time-consuming step?
It helps from it, that's how I
They
know
know who
44
leaves
people
their
left
stuff out.
3,000
They know
racks.
who
That's a
leaves
very
racks
important
out.
piece of information.
It gives you all the information, which might also help get that data that Tom was saying of how much you can handle, because
But now,
this is what's going on now.
So just like, even if you're thinking about regular grant inspections, just the once a year required by law, no, I wanna say this. It takes us months to do the 90 farms because of differences in tides, because of people's planting schedules, because of our schedule doing our own stuff and how many people we might have fishing, what the commercial patrol looks like, what are we doing on the propagation bed. It takes months to do grant inspections. My first year I did all but one. We did. My second year, we probably missed like 5 or 6. So even with a whole wonderful summer, it's hard to do them all. I'm just being honest about it with a 3-person department.
okay, Dave,
Yep.
so you've answered my question, which is this worth keeping up with the contract?
I think the contract at
Okay,
least
but-
gives us information.
So she said yes.
But that was, remember, I just said to you guys earlier, this is checking in on this new reg, relatively speaking. It hasn't been on the books for 50 years. Okay, so the Shellfish Constable says it's useful. I get that, and I get why it's useful. But how many people sign it and then don't do it? That's the question that is to be determined by this extra batch of work that you will have to do.
Do you have an idea of how many people do that?
No, I trust people.
Yeah.
Right.
I trust people that they did what they said. They signed a contract, and I trust that they did what they said. And I'm happy to go inspect and make sure that.
Summertime?
No, but, no, I don't.
So 3,000 out of probably 100,000 racks? I guess,
Could be.
out there.
I have no idea.
So
If anybody would like to tell me, if every single grand holder would like to tell me what their inventory of racks is, I would collect that information and add it together.
That would be very helpful.
That's something the
Because we
Shellfish
make a big
department
deal about
could do.
3% of our racks.
And
that
grant
produce
inspections.
Probably more than the rest. It's probably pretty productive for the town to keep those out there.
I mean, there's condos too.
I've never seen an iceberg in July.
He's just saying, I think what Justin's saying is,
Load on the back I have.
you would just give an idea of how much is
I wanna know the
taken off.
percentage.
Not only that, but also it would tell, if we knew how many racks were out there, it would give the exact number of how many were left out there.
That's true.
So his idea is not that.
No, and the other thing is that in order to figure out who lost what, you'd have to go do a second grant inspection. Okay, you said you left 400, let me see, let's count them.
Yeah,
Right, so this is not gonna happen, who was saying, in one tide in one area. Like, think about how much time it takes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time involved, and I am totally on board with
This industry makes more money
enforcing.
than anything in town. Why is the beach department getting $1.5 million bucks to have run-down ass bathrooms out there at every beach for the last 30 years? And this department gets fought to have one more employee to go do grant inspections? I mean, come on.
They get
How
parking
much?
tickets. They bring so much more money than this
Thank you.
department, that's why. A lot more.
Well,
Way more.
They
but
do
this
some
industry
repairs,
represents a lot of
Yeah,
money.
How about some showers
Okay,
with
but that
every
is why
other
they
beach
bring
in the
in so
world?
much more money.
Well, because they don't
than
keep
the
anything else
entire
Alright.
department.
Alright,
Okay?
thanks.
That's why.
Thanks, alright. So,
Yeah, it's about money, and they bring in a lot more than
But
this
they don't do
department.
anything.
So-
Without the shellfish,
they
there
don't.
will be no town.
We make
hey, Justin,
With
$6.8 million.
Jude, Jude, and Justin,
Look at the budget.
Jude, we can hear you.
I was at the town meeting.
Just,
I was
Yeah.
there.
alright, overwintering, not beach department bathroom.
Well, no, this does have to do with overwintering.
I hear you. I hear you.
Deserves another employee.
We are managing a $6.8 million industry.
Jude,
Outrageous.
Just give him half a dozen.
Jude, we understand you do
I got
not,
2 employees myself. I need 2 more.
How many permits have you sold this year, Nancy? How much money has this department brought in this year?
Jude,
Okay?
Jude,
You guys are living in a fantasy world.
Thank you. Okay, well,
You kinda are. You kinda are.
I think we need at least a
I
half
wanna
dozen.
know how many rec permits you've sold this year, Nancy.
thank you, Jude. Alright, so,
Cut that half dozen back since she's left now.
alright. So,
I think one more employee would really help.
alright, so, is she gone?
Yes.
Alright.
I think we need to
So,
make a decision about
do you
what
guys,
we're gonna
so, one more employee, Justin's suggesting another employee for the Shellfish department would help.
I can't hear.
Justin's suggesting that another employee for the Shellfish department would help. I agree.
Even if it's only part-time.
Yeah, you work low tide.
Ralph does not agree.
The person who's at halftime seems to be working out. He's beneficial. He's full-time now, okay.
They can't
He's been beneficial,
control the overwinter agreement that's on that piece of paper, that take in everything. And then there's no patrol, it doesn't cut into anybody's stuff. Take your shit home, like 90% of the other people doing the stuff. I don't give a shit if you can't make a living and you can't afford your house. Too bad. Everybody else,
Given the house and I.
Hey, Justin, can you let him talk?
I wasn't given a house either. I paid for it.
We all listen to you. Let him
He's
do his
directly
thing.
attacking me.
Yep, but you guys, you can deal with that. We're grown-ups.
I
Anyway,
do stuff
Ben.
every year. I do it by hand, I do it by foot.
Yep.
I do it with boats that have no motors, and I don't have a problem with it. If you can't get your shit in, that means you're too big.
All right.
no reason
Thanks,
to have
Justin.
followed the law.
Justin, he
Yeah.
said
Oh,
his
you
part,
haven't. Your
you
shit's
said
all
your
over the
part.
place. That's not following the law.
Tell
Ben,
me where.
Alright, going off Ralph's idea of taking everything in and being able to, you should be able to take in whatever you put out. Because
We could if we want.
I'm not.
Justin, Justin.
Talk, please, thank you.
he's not.
We threw Judith out of
Oh,
it.
hey, Dad, I'm talking to. Be quiet. In the lobster world, okay, we are required, we cannot have more than 800 traps. That is a rule. We have to bring those traps in every single year because of a right whale closure. We are not given any leeway, we are ticketed if we stay out there, we are not given any other time because of the weather, because of a snowstorm or an act of God. We have to bring the stuff in, that's what we're told to do. We are not given any assistance from the state or any assistance from anyone. So we have to be self-sufficient in that. So saying that you are not able to bring all of your stuff in is not an adequate excuse for running a business.
And why did that happen? Why did that happen? Did all?
Because whale people.
No. Why did it happen that you couldn't leave stuff year-round out?
We brought it.
Because they lose it in a storm.
Because there was stuff everywhere.
Right.
And it killed whales. And that's what's going to happen with us.
That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed, and that's the problem I
One
can't
dead
speak
kid,
on.
that's all it's gonna take. One dead kid on a surfboard or playing in the harbor. One dead kid.
All right, so back to this Shellfish Advisory Board. Do you guys have any suggestions of how we could resolve the issue of stuff in the harbor?
I got a suggestion. I like the idea, somebody floated of counting the racks. Every person that's got a grant should be able to tell you how many racks they've got. Well, you should have that number as part of your stats. So it's gonna help something somewhere down the road, and I think that's a good idea.
I will add it to our inspection report, and then anybody who I've inspected, I'll be texting you to send it to me.
Dave, for you, it's in the contract, you're supposed to supply the number of racks.
That you're leaving out.
That's what you're
That
gonna left.
Anybody else on this board have any?
Well, we had a rule of 8 inches. We know it didn't work, so maybe we can try pumping it down to 4. I mean, it's August. If we make a recommendation to the selectmen and they put it through to take off all the racks, that kind of gives people like 4 months. I think we should do 4 inches, see how this winter goes, and if it goes shit again, I guess we'll be back here, or when it goes shit again. I just think that we're gonna have a problem every spring leaving our stuff out there. So we gotta come up with some solution.
Do you want to make a motion to pump stuff down to 4 inches instead of 8 inches?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, I'll make a motion for section 719.5 to securely fasten within 4 inches of the bottom of that whole thing.
I'd like to
I
hear.
thought we already discussed that it was not.
Jake's making a motion right now.
I know he was looking at me, I raised my hand, he was looking at me.
No, this has got to be
Discussion, we
within
can have
the
a
group.
discussion
He
on the
didn't
motion.
enforce the 8-inch thing, we already discussed that in the meeting, so how are you making a motion to do 4 inches? It wasn't a failure, I mean.
If I get a second, we can discuss it. Does anyone want to second that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
We had 8 inches and it didn't work. So I'm just trying something. I'm trying something. You know, I take all my gear off. This is not for me. I mean, you know, I just feel like we can't have this mess every spring, and I'm just trying to do something where people could still leave the racks out. Because if we keep having this problem, eventually something's going to happen. I know it hasn't. I know there's still gear out there. You can't tell me that all the gear has been cleaned up. It just hasn't. I see gear out there. So I mean, we just got to do something. We just can't leave it and then ignore the problem. So I'm just trying to come up with a solution. I mean, we've been talking for a while. I've heard a lot of different things, a lot of different opinions. So this is what I came up with.
The state will solve it for us if we don't.
Something's gonna happen. I mean, if we leave 3,000 racks out there every winter, I mean, you saw this winter, it was Chopper. It could be somebody else next winter. You know, it's just what's gonna happen, and then that might self-police people. But
Mine weren't pumped in.
Rodney?
I got an amendment.
oh, I know, but and it still happens. So that's why I'm
They
saying.
weren't pumped in.
Yeah, no, I know that.
My system's different, how's that affect me?
Not at all. You're fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
We're talking racks.
He's talking metal gear. I mean, it's really just the metal gear that we have the problem with. That's not the bag.
I
So
picked up more racks than I
There's two
own.
of yours.
Yeah, I'm sure there were.
I think we push the gear down. I mean, this is what I'm coming up with. If anybody has anything better, or we can just sit here and go in circles.
Every year, though,
So let me just,
Greg got his grant out there, what,
the way this reg is written, it's talking about racks.
Racks.
All right, so it doesn't even talk about condos. We had a lot of condos the past 2 years. So we might want to add something in about condos. Whether they should come off.
Yeah, you can't push your condos down.
Take all
No, so
condos,
you have
just
to
take
take
all
your
the
condos
condos
have to
out.
come off.
So,
Is that in the current reg?
does anybody want to
No.
make a motion to take all condos off for the winter?
Yeah.
You do?
I think it's already on there.
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's only
It
racks.
says anything over, oh, just racks.
Do you guys,
Racks, rebar.
do you want to make a motion for that?
Nobody can make more advice.
Hey, can you guys, hey, Chip's gonna make, Chip's,
First, we gotta deal with my motion.
You already got a
wait,
motion.
one second.
Sorry.
So we can, if we want any more discussion on that, or do we want to vote on that? The 4 inches?
So we're gonna vote on, how do I do that?
You just say, vote, you just call a vote.
All right, I'll call a vote for.
All those in favor.
All those in favor of pumping racks down 4 inches.
Changing the regulation.
Changing the regulation to pump down racks to 4 inches
In a winterized agreement.
in the winterizing agreement, overwintering agreement. So,
No, can I get it, we're discussing this, is that the idea? or-
No.
we're
voting now.
we're gonna
All
vote
right.
on pumping them down to 4, changing the regulation from 8 inches to 4 inches to pump them down.
I have one question, is it gonna help keep the stuff from moving around the harbor?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Probably not.
Then why are we
So
pushing
that's
it
not gonna
on?
prevent you guys from grabbing
Trying to come up with
I mean,
something.
I know you're trying to come up with something, but if we don't have the data, there's no.
So-
It would help.
So what's,
Wouldn't it?
so we really should discuss it.
So-
Quite a few people said, what about pushing, a lot of people, both, you know, it came up in the Shellfish Advisory, I think Zach brought it up at Shellfish Advisory, the last meeting, about putting them flush with the ground, and that came out as a solution in our grant inspections as well.
4 inches.
Other people, no,
Flush.
racks flush with the bottom.
But I heard a lot of people say that was gonna smother your oysters. I mean, that's gonna destroy.
Can you guys just like not talk for a minute while we
We
do
have to get
this?
through Jake's.
Yeah, we have to get through
Oh,
this.
yeah. Sorry.
So does anybody want to like vote on Jake's
Yeah, you see
idea?
all those in favor.
All those in favor of pumping racks down to 4 inches, raise your hand. And people who aren't in favor, raise
Opposed.
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 So what is that? That's 3 and 3.
Anybody abstain?
I didn't vote, I was thinking.
Oh,
Alright, so it's 3-3.
I think 4 inches could help.
so it's
Yeah.
4 to 3 vote. Okay, so we're gonna change the reg.
Or no?
No, we are gonna change the reg to
Okay.
4 inches.
Make a
I'm gonna
recommendation.
suggest
I was gonna vote
that.
to remove all the gear, but that's mute now that we got 4 inches.
Well, you could still
You
make
could
a
still-
motion.
Yeah, you could do
The way
that.
that works is it goes for a discussion either.
I'd like to make a motion then.
Alright,
You know, I mean, from what I'm hearing, you know, the easiest solution for the Shellfish Department and everybody else that's gonna cure this problem.
hey, can you guys be quiet because I can't focus on what he's saying.
Is the removal of all gear from the grants. I mean, you know, all this gear is new in the last, what, 30, 35 years. Before that, there was no gear on the grants and the oyster industry survived. Well,
Yeah, we really.
you know, why not, you know? Without all that crap out, without all the gear out there, there's not gonna be a problem, not a.
So do you wanna
To the
make a
people who voice
motion?
it, I'd like to move that all gear must be removed by the grants by January 15th,
Alright,
Or
so,
before the ice comes.
or before the ice comes.
so can you make that motion?
Just do it.
Oh, you just did. Alright, so all of those in favor?
Now we discuss.
Oh, can we get a second to remove all gear off by January 1st? By January 15th,
Or
so,
whenever the ice comes.
or whenever the ice
whichever
comes. So all gear must be off before January 15th or before the ice comes. Does anybody want to second that? Can you guys be quiet?
Is that
So-
going to include clam nets too?
So this is, Brent,
100% no
Brent.
exceptions.
all gear, so,
What does that entail?
so does anybody want
Condos
to
and
second,
racks?
anybody's want to second Chip's motion of taking everything off by January 15th or before the ice comes?
No.
No.
No, okay.
All right, so we're back to the 4 inches, right?
Right.
And we had a vote on that already.
Yeah.
All right, just procedurally, my understanding is once we have a second on a motion, it should be discussed.
I-
Any
Yeah, we already
discussion,
voted.
And, you know, that's fine on that one, but
Yeah.
that's where it should go.
So I will let the select board know about the reg change.
And then it
And I
gets,
will bring it to the, hopefully we'll be able to get it on the 27th, because I already have 2 other agenda items there.
I think what should absolutely happen though is that the way that this is written out needs to happen from the Shellfish department.
Obviously. I
It
agree.
has, so, and when the licensee shall have his or her license revoked, that'll go to the select board, won't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Only if they appeal it, right?
which they obviously will appeal it.
So,
What did you do with the condos?
they should be taken
Oh,
off, because
okay.
those can't be.
So this is
pumped.
a different one.
Yeah, so all the,
Sorry.
the way the regulation, oh, sorry.
You wanna make a motion to take all condos off, just so
No,
that
I think the way the regulation is written now, it doesn't
it says
specifically.
racks? It doesn't say condos.
We agree to remove all. I agree to remove all metal racks, rebar, U-hooks used to secure nets, or anything constructed of metal that is not securely fastened within.
Okay.
Was 8 inches. Now we're recommending 4 inches. So I don't think anybody could push a condo down 4 inches. So I
They
think.
gotta remove.
So they gotta remove it.
So we don't need to
Nice
change
made mine
anything.
that tall.
So we don't have to
So,
change
I
anything.
mean,
No, so but Nancy needs to know that all condos need to be taken off because she believes that condos are not part of this
yeah,
overlay.
so this is the 4 inch thing is kind of what I came up with to try to stop the problem from happening. I don't know if it's going to help. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Maybe just this meeting will help people like be
Maybe
more
it'll-
serious and
Maybe
push
it'll
it
help
down.
people decide to,
Yeah.
to pull them off,
I don't
and
know.
that'll be the incentive.
I think
Instead of
last winter,
pumping them down.
Well, last winter was pretty bad.
Well, so that'll help everything.
Do we have any other suggestions or anything else that we want to do with this?
Do-
Overwintering?
Does anybody from the audience have any other suggestions or anything they want to say about overwintering? Yep. Steven?
So the condos, we're gonna say that they shouldn't be out there, they should be out
They
there.
cannot be out there.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
our-
think
My
condos.
concern is,
Yeah.
it's already listed?
Yep. Brad and then Justin.
It doesn't, but just, can I just answer this question real quick? It doesn't specifically say condos, but it says metal. I mean, I think the problem really here is metal. And it says anything that constructed of metal that is not securely fastened within 4 inches has to be removed.
And we're gonna,
So-
when Nancy comes back, we're gonna let her know that condos have to be taken off.
Yeah.
Because it's constructed out, because it's,
kept under the 4 inch.
and
You
it's
can't push
constructed
condos
out
out.
of metal.
Yeah.
Brad.
Just, I know guys in Barbara, Richard, down Indian Neck, they leave bags out.
Yeah.
It's not a metal thing, and they're able to harvest oysters a lot.
Yeah.
Just the question is, can you leave bags out instead of racks and still leave your stuff out there? Because it's just sitting on the ground anyway, why push down racks if you could just U-hook bags down or something? It's just my question. Maybe it's impossible, maybe it's.
Is that so are you making a suggestion?
No, it's just a statement.
Okay.
It already happens.
All right.
It works.
Thanks, Brad.
Get rid of the metal.
Justin,
Could we maybe do 6 inches instead of 4?
we already made a motion, I mean, we can make a,
That's
do you want me?
say,
little drastic.
Brent and Sandy said 4 to 6 works for them
4 to
since
6.
since
There you go. And then you
1986
got your 4.
or whatever.
So we
Is
have
it
to.
just the metal also?
One
or-
sec, I'm just gonna say something to Nancy and then,
Sorry.
it says it's constructed, all that gear is constructed out of metal, all metal gear, so condos are part of that, so all condos have to come off anyway.
Well, and so then this says that only racks,
But-
so that means that condos can't
No.
be.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
But read the first part. It says remove all metal racks, rebar, U-hooks, or anything constructed of metal. So anything constructed of metal.
Right.
When this
So
was originally
condos.
written, people had it was really kind of a way to clean up stuff on Egg Island because there was this gear and twisted racks just left out there year after year after year,
Right.
and in other places. So this was kind of like, let's just clean everything up, and you can just leave usable racks out there.
So
And that's
condos
kind
are
of where
included
we
in
were.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I need to do a crier that lets people know that everything except for racks has to come in that's metal?
All metal,
Will
yeah, that's what the
anybody argue
regulations.
with me that it's covered in plastic and therefore it's not
I
metal?
will.
Will you really?
I knew it!
Are you serious?
Yeah, I would.
Alright, so now we just have to make a
haven't
motion.
passed, But I ain't gonna leave none out anyway, so we'll move on.
Alright, so you know what? No, you know what? He's actually right because somebody will down the line argue that. So let's
This is
just.
all
I've
deal.
already-
Wait a
This is all
minute.
deal.
All right,
I wanna get
so-
technical, if it's got metal inside the
One second,
plastic.
Freddie, I'll get to you.
If it's metal inside the plastic, then it is constructed.
Alright, but wait, Jake, get over here.
Some people say their condos flat to the ground and they just put a rope over them with a couple spikes on each side.
Condos or racks?
Racks.
We gotta,
Freddie's talking about racks.
we gotta, so, I'm gonna make a motion to put into the current regulation about 7.19.5, that, where it says racks, rebar, or U-hook used to secure nets on a licensed area must either be securely fastened within 8 inches of the bottom, or removed by January 15th, or before ice prevents removal, that we add condos to the beginning part of that.
Condos, racks, rebar, U-hooks.
Yes. So,
But then condos within 8 inches.
no, condos have to come off.
Because you can't put them to.
Racks, rebar,
It's
must
so,
either be securely fastened to within what will now say
Right.
4 inches of the bottom, or removed. So they could have them, I don't know how you get a condo to 6 inches,
alright,
but-
so I'm gonna have to say that all I have to do is just reword this, so so we'll just keep it, and all condos must be removed.
Somebody needs to
So-
come up with the wording.
So I'm gonna say, after 7.19,
Zach, you're gonna send this to me?
sure.
I'll copy.
After-
I'll put it to the slide.
After the I'm making a motion that we're, after 719, after the first period where it says whichever comes first, and all condos must be removed.
Okay.
Does anybody want to second that?
Are condos a problem?
Is that what we're saying? Well, we're believing that's true anyways, right?
I'll second
Yes,
that.
alright,
Get it moving.
alright, so we have a second, and now, all in favor of taking
Any discussion?
any discussions about taking condos?
I think it's fine.
Fine.
That's what we're saying
Okay.
anyway.
I think the
You're
language
saying
is
you
in there,
can't
but
do it
it might
anyway,
be
so
good to
let's just-
specifically reference it.
Alright, so,
People have to mount, and
alright,
Cool.
cool.
I have to have guidance.
Alright, so, all in favor of adding that condo should be removed from 7.19.5, raise your hand.
Fred says.
Some people think the condo's flat to the ground.
Right.
Condos or racks?
Condos.
They do the condos. Caroline Wood and Dave Pike sink their condos flat to the ground, and they spike them and put ropes over them. And they're they're flat to the ground, they're not above 6 inches.
Aquamesh condos?
How do they
There's
come?
only two,
Well-
no, and three. There are 2 and 3,
Bucky,
not the tall.
Bucky, tell Caroline.
Not a
doesn't-
king.
Doesn't have a problem.
No, he's talking about the aqua trays that I use.
Oh, okay.
Caroline sinks
That's
there.
different. Are they plastic?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're talking
don't
about
worry
metal.
plastic. I'm
Yeah.
metal
Okay.
condos.
Alright,
That's why I keep checking on me.
Okay.
Make sure-
Yeah, we don't worry about plastic.
so, all in favor of adding,
It's unanimous.
okay, it was unanimous. Alright, sweet.
Get the metal.
Alright, so,
Where are we at, Dave?
now, what time is it?
I would like to revisit the 4 inches to 4 to 6 inches. I think is more
Alright.
reasonable.
Do you wanna make a,
I'd make a motion that we amend that to 4 to 6 inches.
alright, I'll second that. So,
Why don't you say 6 inches?
Right, then 6.
well, no, right, 4, because it's adding to
The more the better.
It's
Try to push them down, some aren't gonna go down for it.
You can just say.
So I'll second Zach's motion.
4 to 6?
4 to 6?
Yeah.
Yep, 4 to 6 inches. Anybody want to discuss that? Because,
Sometimes you ask for too much, it comes back fire.
I just think you're better off saying 6.
it also gives us, it's not, it
That's
doesn't
2
matter.
inches difference.
Of 8
It doesn't matter.
and 4.
I think we should try it for a year and revisit it next year to see how it worked. If it didn't work, we can,
Okay,
make the appropriate adjustment.
alright, can you
Yeah,
make a
people are
note
gonna
next
say,
to
people
that?
start screaming and they can't do it, and Nancy hears about it, we'll find out.
I just thought the 4 because it was like halfway lower, and it's kind of within reason. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna go out.
I mean, let's face it, when you sit there with a ruler, what
It's
do
gonna
we?
be a little different based on the way
So-
your bottom lays. So
I know,
So, we're gonna revisit this in a year. Can,
So we're still
can we
discussing
add that
this?
to the minutes?
I will add that
And
after this motion.
after
Well,
this,
yes.
yeah, after this motion. So I'll second Zach's motion.
Change it to 4 to 6 inches.
4 to 6 inches.
We took a vote to take this to the selectmen, did you not?
And does anybody, so all in favor of changing it from 4 inches to 4 to 6 inches? Say yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we have? It was
You're supposed to say any
4.
So now it's 4 to 6?
so anybody who votes against it, Jake.
I like my form.
You went through all this tonight for 2 inches.
I know.
It doesn't matter. It's because it doesn't matter because the ice is going to take it off anyway.
Yeah. I know, but I thought the form.
I know what you're trying to do. I get it.
I agree.
What was the vote?
Because people were talking about ice getting underneath them.
It was all of us in favor and Jake against.
6 to 1.
I mean, I think 4 would have been a better idea.
And then
Down to 4, and if they're telling you you have to stick to the letter,
so that we remember
let's give them some
when
wiggle.
somebody says this. Down the line.
Is anything else on the
Change it
agenda?
to 4 inches or.
Are floating bags an option here or no?
It should be discussed.
Something
I would like
that on the
to
future
discuss.
agenda.
Floating bags, what do you mean by floating bags?
Like
Floating gear like they do.
everywhere.
It's not allowed in Wellfleet Harbor.
Yep,
It's
so
not
I
allowed in Wellfleet Harbor, and it's a Marina Advisory Committee. And it's becoming a real problem with bird defecation everywhere.
Oh, really?
And now the state is honing in on it because it's starting to affect water quality. So it's not something that I am gonna be interested
We would only do it for
entertaining.
anti-foul stuff, only because we got a lot of
I'll shoot all the
problems
birds.
with sponge and stuff out there, so.
Yeah, I'm just letting it, like, the DMF is totally on it, and they are, they're monitoring, it has shut down, estuaries, it has shut down bodies of water because of,
Alright,
the
so
water quality.
let's talk about overwintering still. Does anybody have anything else?
Let's wrap it up.
Cornbread.
Alright, what time is it?
Let's shoot 'em.
Alright, we're gonna end the conversation about overwintering, and we're gonna add anything that wants to be added for future agenda. You wanna add floating gear to the future agenda?
No.
Not necessarily, no, it's just one.
I'm not
Alright.
going to entertain it, sorry.
Okay.
It wouldn't be
Freddie?
a good option.
The state said you have to go have a plan because of what Nancy's saying now, if you're gonna follow them.
We're not gonna add it, I guess, so. Alright,
What else do we have?
Mike Zimba on it, or,
Can I take that back? Maybe it would be a good thing for the future.
It would be.
Everyone,
It's a good thing.
so,
I'll see if this thing is.
You don't need rams.
alright, we'll put floating gear for a future agenda,
Potential future.
potential
If the
future
state's
agenda.
against it, then there's no need to.
The state's against it, it's not permitted from the harbor.
Plastics in the harbor.
So, we don't really have jurisdiction
Can
at
you
this
write
point.
plastics in the harbor?
Yes, there happen, yep.
Anybody else on future agenda?
Yep, I wanna,
Plastics in the harbor.
can you guys be quiet just while we talk about this? And then, making it so the boat, what is it, boat?
Looking at the boat regulations as a package.
Okay, well, that's gonna be a lot.
Yeah.
So, but it would be something we could work on in the winter time.
You mean just the amount they can
Okay,
harvest?
yeah, okay, so yeah, just, and then
Everything.
chip,
I got a question.
I'm
Commercial
curious.
boats, obviously.
yeah.
Drivers.
Yeah, have we officially given Nancy our support in trying to pick up this extra employee? And if not, I think it'd be a good idea that we, as a board, support her with accessing one.
Should we put that on our next?
Yeah, sure.
We can't do it tonight.
Yeah, we'll put it on the
I think
future
that's a good
agenda.
idea.
And John, what did you?
Yeah, I got a question, so this is an agenda item in the future. I hate to say it, but are we supposed to be doing a shellfish management plan again? 10 years, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
That's the feeling we're.
How's the natural resources harbor management?
Yeah, well, we're working on ours, it's 10 years too, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's tough.
I know we were gonna link up on that because there's a lot of overlap.
There's a lot of overlap.
Are we supposed to do that?
I think,
I believe we are.
Alright, so let's add that to the future agenda too, because I don't know, I don't even know what that is.
Shellfish management
We
plan,
started.
there's one, and I believe the last one was like, 06, I think?
07, I think it was.
Helen?
07.
Yeah, so have you guys met between June 13th and this meeting?
No.
No.
Okay, you need to have a reorganization of the board agenda item to officially vote for who's going to be the chair and the vice chair.
I already did.
When?
Chair.
No, we didn't get the meeting today.
Oh, it was when I went out to get my glasses.
Is there, do we have to vote for a vice chair?
I would suggest it, because whoever, you need to have just that. How you delegate all the chores is up to you.
Jake, do you want to be vice chair?
Sure.
All right, so we'll make a motion to make Jake vice chair.
Anybody else want to be vice chair?
Second.
Second. Yeah.
All in favor?
All in favor? Jake's vice chair.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What I've always wanted.
It wasn't on the agenda, so that's.
It was on the agenda.
So, shellfish management plan, next
I
Thursday.
put that on there, yeah.
All right, anything else from the board?
Did we set responsibilities for the board? Anya, we can discuss responsibilities for the board.
No.
Like we got chair, he wants to be still secretary.
Yep.
Who wants to do the agenda, who wants,
Nobody else.
The chair has to do the agenda.
chair has to do the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dave, you all right with that?
I'm okay with that for, yeah.
Well, you got, so between, you get from Zach, what's gonna be?
Yeah, you guys have all been super helpful, I mean.
Yeah, it's easy, you know, I mean, just talking to the people at the town hall, bringing down what you need to bring
Yeah,
down.
yeah, you guys have been.
And you ran the meeting really well, I thought.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you want to say something, Becca?
This is the first meeting without Barbara probably in like 15 years. I feel like we should like send her.
It seems kind of weird.
She sat out in the hall for a while.
I know. We should
Tonight?
send her a thank you or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the
I
next
agree.
agenda.
We
So-
should do something.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
I got it on the next agenda.
At least the
Great.
cake.
All right,
Have a little party.
so we're gonna adjourn this meeting.
I had one other thing that I'm gonna put out there because it has been on, something to talk about is single-use plastics was
Oh,
something that people
Jack
have
put
really
it on there.
wanted.
Got it.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
All right, so now what I just say, it's a meeting, this meeting's adjourned.
So if we're gonna talk about, next time, if you're gonna talk about the potential of adding another employee, then I had an idea about a grant service fee that could help offset that.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure, and potential grant service fee.
All
Got
right,
it.
so does anybody else want to add anything to future agenda items?
We should choose a date now, while everybody's here.
All right,
Yeah, choose a date. I mean, I can tell you too, I don't know if we got enough shellfish stuff going on.
what time is it? 7:57?
Yeah.
You're in good
All
shape.
right,
Let's choose a date.
Nice job.
Oh, we gotta choose a
2
date. Okay,
hours.
wait, we gotta
That's
choose a date.
amazing.
so what, I will, we could just, I don't, my phone's dead, but if you guys just want to arbitrarily choose any date, I can make it.
September.
You gotta look at the time.
September, the week of the.
Doesn't matter to me.
Who's got- I'll pull up a time chart.
You need to do the first week in September.
All right,
That'll be like a little under a month. If we wanted to wait a whole full month.
Are there good times right
Let's
then
do it the
though?
week of the 9th.
Yeah,
If we- no?
yeah. Well,
Is that
no,
better
that's
time?
fine. We could do this like Monday, but after that, the tides are getting too late. Then
I'm not here Monday, sorry.
No, that's fine. Can we do Tuesday? Tuesday's like cutting it. The tide's at 4, so we did a 7 o'clock, 3 hours after. Would that be okay? Or?
So what's up? Oh,
It's okay with me.
yeah, doesn't matter, I can miss a tag. Okay, works out.
Right. I have to have childcare and I'm trying to figure out if I've got
Bring him here.
5-year-old. Yeah, we have Jake bring his girl too.
Yeah,
So
we'll
maybe
have a little party.
Sophie,
What about Wednesday the 18th at 7? It's a 9:30 low.
Yes.
Better for me.
Does that work for everybody?
7, you said?
Yes.
Or 6? 6? I'm fine with 6. Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah.
6 o'clock on Wednesday the 18th.
On Wednesday the 18th.
Wednesday the 18th, Tom.
Did you give me that date again?
Wednesday the 18th.
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Everyone likes 6. I'm fine with 6.
So the only thing we need to do is just check that the room's available. Otherwise, there's the library, there's the COA.
Yeah.
Can one of you guys check to see if this room's available?
I can, because I
Thank you.
work with town hall.
All right, cool. Can you bring this back to town hall if you go to town hall every day?
I do.
Oh wait, I should probably lock this place first. I'll just
I
bring
think
it back.
are you allowed to keep it, or no?
Yeah, or I can give it to Helen. Anyway,
We're good.
all right, so meetings.
So what was your date?
Wednesday the 18th at 6 p.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Location to be
Thanks, Dave. That was
determined.
awesome.
Cool. All right, all set.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Nice job.